Hi guys, today we're going to talk about rates and unit rates, and the I can statements we're working on are I can understand how to find a rate when given a specific ratio, and I can solve unit rate problems, and we're really going to focus on the solving unit rate problems in this video. So as we talked about in class, a rate compares two quantities with two different units of measure. So for example, a car travels 120 miles in 2 hours, the rate would be 120 miles per 2 hours, or 2 hours. So for every 2 hours, the car goes 120 miles. This rate is comparing miles to hours. So we have two different units of measure, miles and hours, that we're comparing. So when the denominator of a ratio is 1, we call that a unit rate. And we usually use the keyword per or the division symbol to show what a unit rate is. So when we talked about in class, miles per hour, meters per second, words per minute. Those were all unit rates because it was telling how many of one quantity, the first quantity, for every 1 unit of the second. 60 miles per hour means you go 60 miles in 1 hour. So why do we need to know this? Well, it helps us become better consumers. And you might want to ask yourself when you're shopping, what is the better buy? Which one's going to save the most money or be the least wasteful? So let's compare these two types of cereals. Okay, and we saw some of these pictures in class of what you might see at a grocery store. So the first cereal is Snappy Rice is $3.12 for a 24-ounce box, whereas Crackly Rice is $2.40 for a 12-ounce box. So there are two different amounts of cereal in each box, but I still want to know which one is going to give me the better buy. Which cereal is the better buy, and how do you know? Well, the better buy is actually going to be Snappy Rice, because even though it costs more than Crackly Rice, I look at this little piece in the corner, the unit price, and I find that it's 13 cents per ounce versus Crackly Rice, which costs 20 cents per ounce. So if I were to take the 24 ounces of Snappy Rice and divide them up into 1 ounce pieces, I would pay 13 cents for each of those pieces, versus with the Crackly Rice, if I divided each of those 12 ounces up into 12 equal pieces, I would have to pay 20 cents for one of those piles. So it's the same amount of cereal per ounce, because an ounce is the same amount, but I'm paying a different amount for each ounce. So in that case, this cereal, Snappy Rice, is the better buy because it's less per ounce. It has a smaller unit rate. Let's look at these boxes of macaroni. Which macaroni is the better buy, and how do you know? Take a second and look at these four. Decide which is the better buy, and decide how you know. The correct answer to this problem, there are actually two of them, is cowboy macaroni and Viking macaroni. And the reason why is I looked at the unit price. They were both 6 cents per ounce. It's the same amount. So it doesn't matter which of those two I buy, I'm paying the same amount per ounce. However, with Pilgrim macaroni, it's 9 cents per ounce, and Acme macaroni is 8 cents per ounce. So I'm actually paying more per ounce with the last two boxes of macaroni. So the better buy will be the cowboy macaroni or the Viking macaroni because it has a smaller unit rate or unit price. Which box of macaroni costs the least? Now in this case, that would be Acme macaroni. So even though the unit rate is not the best, it's not the better buy, it is still the least expensive. That doesn't always mean that I want to buy the Acme macaroni though, because it still has a higher unit price. And the better buy is the one where I'm getting more for less money. And in this case, I'm not getting more for less because I have to pay more for every ounce. Here's a problem where you need to figure out which is the better buy. If I wanted to buy bananas from Kroger or Meijer, and I was trying to decide which one I want, what I would need to do is set up a ratio, or a rate first, sorry. And since I want to know which one has the better dollars per banana, or price per banana, I'm going to put the 70 cents on top, 70 cents for every 5 bananas. Now, I want to find the unit price, which means I really need to know how much am I going to pay for 1 banana. Well, to do that, I would have to figure out, to get from 5 to 1, what do I need to do? Well, 5 divided by 5 gives me 1. And 70 cents divided by 5 will give me 14 cents. So the unit price at Kroger for bananas is 14 cents per banana. At Meijer, I'm going to set up my rate the same way. I'm going to pay $1.04 for 8 bananas. So, in order to determine the better deal, I need to know how much am I paying at Meijer for 1 banana. So that way we can have something to compare that's similar. 1 banana versus 5 to 8 might be a little confusing. So, how do I get from 8 to 1? I divide by 8. So I'm going to take $1.40, and divide that by 8. And that gives me, if I round, 18 cents. Because $1.40, I have to divide that by 8. 8 cannot go into 1. I bring up my decimal. It can go into 14 one time. 1 times 8 is 8. And when I subtract, I get 6. Bring down a 0. 8 goes into 6 7 times. And 7 times 8, that gives me 56. And when I subtract, I have 4. Bring down another 0, that gives me 5. So I want to know how many cents that's going to cost. Well, cents are hundredths of a dollar, so it means I need to round to the hundredths place. That 5 tells that 7 to become an 8, and that's how I got my 18 cents for the bananas at Meijer's. So now I need to ask myself, which one is the better buy? Is it better to buy 5 bananas for 70 cents or 8 bananas for $1.04? And the correct answer would be Kroger's 5 bananas for 70 cents because they are only 14 cents a banana versus Meijer, which is 18 cents a banana. Let's look at another example. I'm trying to decide if I should buy apples from Kroger or Meijer. And Kroger sells apples, 6 apples for $1.08. So let's set up our rate. $1.08 for 6 apples, or $2.38 for 14 apples. Well, in order to compare these, I need to have the same amount of apples. So let's find a unit rate. What if I only wanted to buy 1 apple? How much would it cost? So, to get from 6 to 1, I divide by 6. To get from $1.08, to figure out the unit rate, I would have to divide that by 6 as well. Because remember, I want a unit rate, which means I want a 1 in the denominator. So, $1.08 divided by 6, that gives me 18 cents for 1 apple. Now let's figure out how much I'd pay at Meijer. Well, to get from 14 to 1, I need to divide by 14. So I also need to take $2.38, and divide that by 14. So $2.38 divided by 14 gives me 17 cents. So which is the better buy? The answer would be, in this case, Meijer, because it is 1 cent cheaper, or apples are 1 cent less expensive. So in this case, Meijer is the better buy for apples. Now it's your turn. I'm going to give you 2 slides. And on each slide, you're going to have a problem very similar to the 2 I've just done. And you're going to need to determine which is the better buy. When you get to the next slide, hit pause and complete the problem in the work section of your WSQ. Then hit play to get to the second problem. You can go back and watch any portion of this video as many times as you need to, or the entire video. But don't forget to write your summary and question in your WSQ. Now here's your first problem. Pause the video, complete this problem showing your work with division, and then hit play to get to your final problem. Here's your final problem. When you have finished this problem, you have completed the lesson, but don't forget to WSQ.